CLOUT was originally an all-female rock group. That the old-fashioned word rock group, formed in Johannesburg, South Africa in 1977, and best known for their hit single Substitute. Of course, later the girls added some male musicians to the lineup of the band. In 1978, the band CLOUT were the #1 band in South Africa, New Zealand, Germany, France, the Netherlands, Sweden, Austria, Denmark, and Belgium. And the song Substitute also reached #2 on the UK charts. And of course, in America, it reached number 67 on the US Billboard Hot 100. CLOUT scored quite a few top 10 singles as well, of course. And they did split up in 1981. But tonight, I'm very honored to be chatting with former CLOUT lead singer, guitarist, and member, Cindy Alter. Welcome to the Church of Rock.
Well, thank you for having me, Derek. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm very honored. And Sister Tracy, of course, the co-producer, co-host, sends her love as well.
Hi, Tracy. Hi, Cindy.
Well, you know, I know a little bit about your history because I've done my homework, and plus I'm a fan.
Cool.
I know that when you were 10 years old, you kind of picked up the guitar, and at age 15, you wrote your first song.
Yeah.
And then joined the band, doing lots of heavy stuff because you were a fan of like Zeppelin and Mountain, Grand Funk, and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Then you became a member of the band CLOUT, of course. Were there bands between the cover band and CLOUT, or was that strictly from that and then straight into CLOUT?
It was actually the cover band, the metal. Well, it was metal in those days. The heavy rock band, and I was at school still. And then after that, I did solo stuff for quite some time. And then the CLOUT thing happened when I was 19. I did my audition for CLOUT. So after that was from 19 till like 23 till 81. CLOUT lasted. And then the rest is history.
So they say. But, you know, a lot of folks might not know CLOUT sold over 10 million albums worldwide. Did you guys, I have to ask, and I'm sure that, you know, I've heard about the struggle you had with management and record companies. I just have to ask briefly, did you get kind of ripped off like a lot of rock bands were because of a lot of greedy people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The manager, he was real smart, and he was a really good manager, and he was an excellent producer. I mean, to keep producing all our hits of one after the other, he was a smart guy. But he lost the plot somewhere along the way. Instead of actually encouraging the band and saying, listen, let's maybe relook at the contract. We're about to get into America. We're on number 60, whatever it was, and how about we redo the contract and we really cut you guys in and we go for it? Because I would have been living in America now and would have been a wealthy woman. But coulda, shoulda, woulda, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's like, you know, the devil's sword, as they say. So I just, I always tell artists that, you know, don't be so fixated on the stardom and the big cars and the big thing that's going to happen, because it might not, and you're going to be very disappointed. Rather, do it because you have a passion for it. Do it because you love it. And that's the only reason I'm still doing it now at 65, still playing, writing, singing, being involved in the music business in any way I can, because of passion. Not because I was going to be a big star, even though I was at that point, and it did make me memorable enough to have continued my career all these years.
Amen. Well said. And yeah, I respect that. Are you originally from South Africa?
Yes, I am. Born and raised. And South Africa was very backwaters, okay? So we didn't have TV until like 1975.
Wow.
No, seriously. We used to listen to the radio. Radio was my God. You know, listening to the newest songs, going to my housekeeper's room and listening to the black stations, the African stations. That was also a whole other ball game. And it was just, I mean, I had a fantastic music education when you think about it. My father loved music. My mother was a concert pianist. I mean, I really had a good background, and they really let me do my thing.
That's so amazing. And, your band CLOUT was able to do some amazing gigs playing with bands like the Bee Gees, the Police, Thin Lizzy, Supertramp, Straits, Blondie. Do you happen to have any particularly favorite memory, what your most favorite gig or two that jump right out when you think about it?
Well, basically, any band that had a number 10, a top 10 hit, would do all these huge TV shows, which were like the big thing in Europe, okay? And in America, I don't know what it was called in America, but in UK, it was Top of the Pops. There was always these big TV shows where they had the hit parade going. So we would do these TV shows, and on the next stage going straight after us was, say, the Police. And then we'd get off, and then Supertramp would get up, and then Thin Lizzy would get on the next stage. So when I say played with them, we did all these shows with them. And yes, we did play with a few of them on tour and stuff like that. I have so many great memories. Did I learn from this or what? This was my school. A school of rock.
Well, have you considered writing a book, or have you written a book?
I have written a book. It is available on Kindle right now, but I am actually working with Amazon right now to do hard copy so they can ship to anybody in the world. It's called No Substitute.
Wow, that's great information. Also, when you were still in South Africa, did you ever have any connection with the band Rabbit or the Uptown Rhythm Dogs?
Absolutely. We had connection with both of them. The Rabbit guys I knew since I was about 15 because a very good friend of mine was their first vocalist. His name was Alan Rosenberg, and the band wasn't called Rabbit, it was called Conglomeration. And Alan used to sing for Conglomeration and used to take me to their rehearsals. So I saw the guys when they were still coming up, and then they changed the name to Rabbit. And Uptown Rhythm Dogs was, I think that was Neil Solomon's band.
Yes.
And Neil and I are very, very good friends to this day. And, when you're in that small pool, you see all the fish. All the fish in the pool with you.
That's such a great way of putting it. I love it. And yes, I have to say Neil Solomon is a wonderful guy, by the way, just to throw that in there.
Oh, yeah. He is fabulous.
What brought you to Nashville? I know you're in Nashville, Tennessee today, but how long have you been there and what brought you there exactly?
I've only been here for just over 2 months. Derek, when I was living in LA, I lived in LA for 15 years. And I loved LA. I had a great time. I actually found myself as a singer-songwriter there. And I worked with bands. I had bands as well. And I had worked with some really great artists, big artists like Kenny Loggins and Olivia Newton-John, Clint Black, a couple of really good artists. I did some shows, big shows. And then I went back to South Africa after I'd gotten sick. I had cancer. And just before I got cancer, I was going to move to Nashville because I'd just been on a tour of Nashville and I'd done really well and people just loved my songs. And there was a guy at ASCAP that said to me, hey, if you move here, I think I can get you a publishing deal. So I was like, come on, let's do this thing. And then I unfortunately, I got very ill and I stayed in LA. I got well. I had a bone marrow transplant. I am 20 years clean and feel pretty good about that. I think that's one of my greatest achievements is to have survived cancer.
Wow. Congratulations. I'm glad to hear that.
So much. But the will and the call of Nashville was still strong. And in 2016, I came here for about 6 weeks. I did shows. I had a great reception. People loved my songs. They loved what I was doing. And even though I'm not chasing to be a rock star or a big pop star or anything, I believe that my songs are good enough to be bandied about, sold to other artists, written for other people. And that's what I'm here for. And I decided all these years that I was in South Africa, I said, I've got to answer this call before it's too late. And before I've missed the bus completely,
Yeah, time is ticking. Well, you know what? I watched your Thrive video earlier, and I sure love that video and that song. It's great. I don't know how old that is, but I think it's like a year old, maybe?
Yeah, that was actually on my album in 2016, but the funniest thing is it's lasted the sound. People still send me messages and say that song got me through some really tough times, or that song is my song. And I think that's an everlast. That's a song that'll last forever. It won't be, it's dated now. It doesn't sound modern. I think that's one of those kind of classic songs, Yeah,
it's beautiful. I really had to say that to you. I just was like really touched by it. It was awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you felt the vibe. And for me, it's always been about that for me, about the music. It's the vibe of it. Do we touch you? Do we make you feel something? Because isn't that what music is? It either creates a memory. Hey, I was hanging out with this chick or this guy, and that song was playing. I'll never forget it. And that's what we live with. We live with memories of music,
And we used to have a double entendre, double meaning. We used to say music, it can touch you in places you've never been touched.
I get it.
We've been doing a series of different interviews with people that were in and around the band, the Bay City Rollers. And I heard you had done an interview with some of the Rollers in the past. And I wonder if that was true.
Yeah, well, actually, I did an interview with Duncan Fora. I was running a show when COVID hit. I didn't know what the hell to do with myself. So I started, a friend of mine had a TV, it was actually an online TV show called Discover TV, not Discovery, sorry, Discover TV. And he said to me, do you want to do a show? And I said, I'd love to. And we talked about what to do. And we both decided, hey, why don't we do something called like, Where Are They Now? And I interview all the older artists in South Africa that have been forgotten. And I did. I started connecting to them. Luckily, I'm not, saying I'm anything fantastic or anything, but I knew most of these people by name. So I would get their number, call and say, hi, this is Cindy Alt. They go, oh, hi, Cindy. Do you want to be on my show? And that's how the show was. And that show is actually on YouTube. You can just check it out. It's called Where Are They Now with Cindy Alter. And I called Duncan. I managed to track him down in Vegas. I said, Duncan, come be on the show. And he was like, yeah. So Duncan's on the show.
That is so awesome. I'm definitely going to probably go check that out as soon as we're done talking.
And Neil Solomon's also on the show because I had to interview Neil. I love him to death.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out as well. Thanks for the info. I was going to ask you also, do you have like a brand new, anything like new music you're promoting, like a new release or anything?
I actually have a new song, but I haven't recorded it the way I want it yet. So I did a demo of it in South Africa, but it was just, it wasn't sitting right. So I'm actually going to be recording that song in the next sort of 2-3 weeks. My engineer here, the guy that I love to record with, Dave Tuff, he just got ill, so he got the bloody COVID. So he hasn't been able to work. So as soon as he's fine again, I'm gonna release it. I've got a new song called Taking Flight.
Taking Flight. Awesome. Yeah. And also No Substitute is the book on Kindle, correct?
Yes, it is. And awesome. All my music is obviously on Spotify and iTunes or Apple Music, wherever you want to look. Just Google Cindy Alter, and I'm all over YouTube as well. So people can get my music wherever they want.
That's exactly where I was headed with the interview. You took the words right out of my mouth. I really do appreciate you making the time, to come on and chat with me and the fans of CLOUT and yourself. And it's great that you're still doing music. I can't wait to hear what you're coming up with in the future here that you've just mentioned.
I'm going to keep you informed. So when I get a new release or something, I'm just going to send it to you, Derek. And, if you can play it, that's great. If you like it, that's even better.
Oh, no, we'll definitely play it. And I appreciate that. I appreciate when people send us music, and we love to support and be of support to the music community. And we not just rock and roll, sometimes R&B, blues, what have you.
Yes. Well, my stuff is definitely moved into a sort of more, I would call it more soulful rock. It's definitely not hardcore. And I've done some pretty hardcore songs, with different artists, some funny, like different stuff that I normally wouldn't do. And I was always in our set with CLOUT, I always sang Barracuda, from Heart. It's one of my favorite songs, and they're one of my favorite bands. And so I'm a big fan of good rock music,
That's awesome. I can just picture you right now on stage singing that song. Thanks for putting it in my head.
Okay, I like that.
Thanks a million for taking the time, and I look forward to getting the next release from you that we can play on the radio. In the meantime, we're going to play something from you now, but again, thanks from all the listeners and myself, and best of luck and much respect.
Well, thanks to everybody listening, and thanks to you for even finding me in the maze of music, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Derek.
Thank you so much. You're listening to an interview, or you were, with Cindy Alter right here at KSKQ and the Almighty Church of Rock radio show.